Hi guys, today we are discussing a special topic called net factor income from abroad. In short form, we can call it as NFIA. Welcome back to Cbse board economics. I'm Saddam Hussein here. Many of the Indians they go and work abroad. Maybe some of them are working in the United States, some of them are working in UK, and some Indians are working in Gulf countries. So when they're working, obviously they'll be generating income and earning money there. That money they will be sending to India. That we call it as factor income from abroad. And you must have seen many foreigners working in India. They of course are non-residents. And we pay salaries to them. They take it to their country. That we call it as factor income to abroad. And what is net factor income from abroad? Net factor income from abroad is the difference between the factor incomes earned by the residents of the country for rendering factor services abroad and the same paid to the non-residents for rendering factor services within the domestic territory of our country. That's a difference actually. What we are getting from other countries and what we are paying to foreigners. Mind it, when you go abroad, the bottom line is you shouldn't be settling there permanently. So the bottom line is you should be working there for less than 1 year. That means you are a normal resident of a country. Like this, when the foreigners come to India, they should be working here for less than 1 year. So that you should keep in mind. So we're talking about the income of the residents of our country from abroad and what we pay to the non-residents within the domestic territory of a country. So the formula can be NFI is equal to factor income received from abroad or rest of the world and factor income paid to abroad. That's the difference between factor income received from abroad or rest of the world and factor incomes paid to abroad. Now let's see how many ways can we earn money from other countries. We call it as components of net factor income from abroad. Broadly, we can say there are three components of net factor income from abroad. One is net compensation of employees, and the second one is net income from property and entrepreneurship. And the third one is net retained earnings. Let's discuss these in detail. The first one is net compensation of employees. What exactly is net compensation of employees? I just told you. Maybe some of the Indians are working abroad in some foreign companies. They would be getting wages and salaries there, and some foreigners come and work in our companies. We pay them wages and salaries. So this difference is called net compensation of employees. To put it in proper perspective, it is the difference between wages and salaries or compensation of employees. We call it received by the residents of our country from abroad and the same paid to abroad to foreigners within our country. And the second one is net income from property and entrepreneurship. What exactly is net income from property entrepreneurship? Property income, as you know, can be rent, can be interest, can be dividends. And the same way, entrepreneur get profits. So what exactly it means? Some of the Indians may be having property abroad. So obviously they will be getting rent from other countries. Some of them might be getting interest from other countries, and some of them might be getting dividends, and some of them may be getting profits from other countries. And the same we are paying to foreigners when they own their property in India. So, what exactly is net income from property entrepreneurship? It's the difference between rent, interest, profits, and dividends received from abroad and the same made to the rest of the world. So, mind it, when you're talking about all these components, this can be positive, this can be negative, this can be zero. So, we're discussing components of net factor income from abroad. Number one is net compensation of employees. Number two is income from property and entrepreneurship. And the last one is net retained earnings. Let's turn that page here. What is net retained earnings? I'll give you a brief description of this. Some Indian companies abroad must be, what exactly is retained earnings in economics? Retained earnings means undistributed profits or savings of private enterprises. Some of the Indian companies abroad must be keeping a part of their profits abroad as uh, undistributed profits. Likewise, some foreign companies in India must be keeping their profits in India. So we take the difference between the undistributed profits of foreign companies and the undistributed profits in Indian companies abroad, that we call it as net retained earnings. Let's read here. It's the difference between the undistributed profits of residence companies abroad and the same of foreign companies within the domestic territory of a country. So the broad formula will be NFIA is equal to net compensation of employees plus net income from property and entrepreneurship and net retained earnings. So these are the three components of net factor income from abroad. So let's see what exactly is the significance of NFIA in national income accounting, in macroeconomics. See, by adding NFIA, net factor income from abroad, to domestic income, we get national income. But by subtracting domestic NFIA from national income, we get domestic income. See here formula. By adding NFIA to domestic income NDP, we get national income NNP. NNP or national income is equal to NDP or domestic income plus NFIA. NDP or domestic income is equal to NNP or national income minus NFIA. That's why many of the times we see NNP can be equal to NDP when NFIA is 0. Sometimes we see NDP is greater than NNP when NFIA is negative, and NNP can be greater than NDP when net factor income from abroad is positive. So here we see here NIA and NFIA can be 0 when the income received from rest of the world is equal to income paid to the rest of the world. NFIA can be positive when income received from rest of the world is greater than income paid to the rest of the world. NFIA can be negative when income paid to the rest of the world is greater than income received from rest of the world. So I'll give you a good revision of these topics once again. The whole lecture or this video is devoted for NFIA, net factor income from abroad. So I told you some of the Indians go and work abroad and some of the foreigners come and work in India. So when Indians go abroad, they work there and they get money. That money they bring it to India, that we call it as factor income from abroad. And when foreigners are working in India, we pay salaries to them, that we call it as factor income to abroad. Then what exactly is NFIA? NFIA is the difference between the factor incomes received by the residents of the country for rendering factor services abroad and the same paid to the non-residents for rendering factored services within our domestic territory. This is what we got it. Net factor income from abroad. It's the difference received, the factor incomes from abroad and the factor payments made to the rest of the world. NFI is factor income received from abroad or rest of the world minus factor income paid to abroad. NFI has three components. One is net compensation of employees, one is net income from property and entrepreneurship, and the other one is net retained earnings. So what exactly is net compensation of employees? I told you it is the difference between the compensation of employees, that's wages and salaries received by the residents of the country for rendering factory services abroad, and the same paid to the non-residents within the domestic territory of a country. Net income from property entrepreneurship, what exactly it is? Income from property entrepreneurship can be in terms of rent, can be interest, in terms of interest, profits, and entrepreneurship income is profits. So this is the difference between the rent, interest, profits, and dividends received by the residents of the country from abroad, and the same paid to the non-residents within the domestic territory of a country. Then net retained earnings. I told you retained earnings means undistributed profits. What exactly it means? Some of Indian companies abroad, they keep a part of their profits abroad, that we call it as undistributed profits, and foreign companies keep a part of their profits in our country. The difference between the profits, the undistributed profits of our companies abroad and the foreign companies in India is called net retained earnings. So, by what is the significance or importance of NFIA? NFIA is very important in national income accounting. To measure national income, we can find out national income by adding NFIA to domestic income or domestic product. By adding NFIA to domestic product NDP, we get NNP or national income. By subtracting NFIA from NNP, we get NDP. So there are three concepts of NFA here. NFA can be positive, can be zero, and can be negative. Anything can happen here. Please keep this in mind. So they can ask you separately, when is NFA zero? NFA can be zero when factor income received from abroad is equal to factor income paid to abroad. NFI can be positive when factor income received from abroad is greater than factor income paid to abroad. NFI can be negative when factor income received from abroad is less than factor income paid to abroad. I'm sure you must have followed all the concepts of NFIA. NFIA is very important in national income accounting. So, till we meet next time, it's goodbye from Saddam Hussein. So, please don't forget to subscribe, to like, comment, and share all these topics and videos with your friends. That's all time we have. Till we meet next time, it's goodbye. Best of luck for your board exams. Bye bye.